We also have else. Okay. Here's an interesting piece that isn't often used. But else is executed if exception doesn't get executed. Now, why wouldn't you put all of that in try? Because maybe try is doing the math, this is printing the error, and this is printing the results of the math if nothing goes wrong, or something along those lines. That's a use case for when you might want to use else. So else only happens if try is successful. If exception happens, it will not do else. So it gives you an option to employ a little bit more advanced logic. In my opinion, the use cases for this are pretty slim. Here's another one that falls into that category. Finally. So we have try, except, and finally. Finally happens no matter what. Okay? So finally says whether we try and we're successful or we have an exception, we're going to do this no matter what as part of that code block. Again, there are lots of other ways to handle that same thing, but in some limited cases, this might be convenient. And so those last two, the else and the finally, I would sort of file under that category of things to remember that Python can do, but don't stress too much about the details of implementing those because you can look them up because you won't use them often enough to store them in the front part of your brain where we have limited capacity, right? If we store things like that in the front of our brain, then we'll start forgetting our kids' names and it just goes sideways from there. So at least that happens to me.